What's up, people? So, as I sit here and I think about the whole thing that's happening right now throughout the world, where death toll or far more have exceeded China and Italy and excuse me, other countries that are going into isolation and lockdown and states in the United States that start to strategically being locked down, it forced me to think um, that social distancing becoming the most popular word in well started this month or late last month. It started when this whole um, pandemic outbreak started, really, and I'm thinking, well, for a lot of us, social distancing started back in 2012 when the world were supposedly ending. Instead, a lot of us were awakened to our senses and we started to question the status quo. And we started to question authority and question the very ground we stood on. But we had the guts to do that, and others around us, peers and family members and friends, co-workers, acquaintances, and everybody we knew literally gave us shit for it. But we stood our ground because we know what we know and we feel what we know. There was no denying in what we know. And today, more and more is becoming more apparent to more people as more people are becoming awakened to their own senses and divine divinity. So it's very interesting now. People are being forced to distance themselves from one another, but for many of us, we were already ostracized by society, by coworkers, by our friends and family. For a lot of us, so at least I know for myself, I lost most of my friends. I didn't lose them, but we had become we were just become so distant from one another because we just don't share similar ideas anymore. I don't see the world the way I used to see it way back then, and neither do they. And well, probably still see it the same way if we cannot really concede to the not to the notion that the world is in fact different. And we slowly get pushed away, and we're the one who is the butter of everybody's joke on the round table because we're the one who are crazy, because we don't take anything the government says at face value. We're the one that are called conspiracy theorists, because we just don't watch CNN and take what they say at face value to be fact, when we have alternative sources that feed us different outcome of the same situation. So it's very interesting to see that people are being forced to socially distance themselves from one another, and is I guess to some degree everybody will be forced to go into solitude. So while it could be a very bad thing, but hey, maybe in social distancing, you'll be able to capture your own thought and rationalize certain things that you may already know, but can't really make sense of because we never really has gotten a chance to sit down and think. And I think that's why most people just doesn't really come to the conclusion of really trying to think and digest their own thought. Just like you have to digest your food. Ways to digest your food after you've filled up your stomach. It is also important to digest your thoughts because you are constantly taking in a lot of things, a lot of mental stimulation all throughout the world, all throughout your reality, everywhere you walk around, everywhere you go. There's always constant stimulation. You're always being bombarded, and depending on the states that you live, that's even more. that's even more prominent than others. So it is important to actually digest your thoughts and trying to come into conclusion, make peace with your mind, so you can find balance. And so this social isolation thing might not be a bad thing after all. And given that a lot of sports or also cancel, but I know people are probably gonna bench on their favorite shows and favorite TV. But it's take a little bit of time out of that, and try not to eat too much. Eat a little bit every day, because if you're not really exercising as much as you should, or walking or going outside, it just pretty much being active as much as you should, which I will always go outside. I'm always going to go for a run. I'm always going to go for a short exercise at the park, regardless of whether the gym is open or not. If you're not doing that, at least try to eat a little bit at a time, and use the time, drink a lot of water, and use the time to meditate, and at least 5 minutes a day, just a little you can do to come into peace and find balance within your own mind. So you could use that moment of lockdown and maximize the benefit that you could potentially get from it. So it's I thought it was very interesting, because yeah, many of us are very used to being ostracized. We're called the black sheep. We're called crazy. We're called nutheads. We're called conspiracy theorists. We're called, and our friends and family literally avoid us at all costs. Um, so it's nothing new for the awakened soul. It's rather something new for those who hasn't find themselves through the matrix. So I just thought I'd come in and drop that as I was thinking about it. So yeah. So make the best of the lockdown as it sweeps through different states. Right now I'm in Florida. It hasn't reached Florida yet. At least parts of Florida are not yet on lockdown, but many things are closing. Supermarkets are still open. A lot of things are still open, but yet, it seems like everybody is freaking out and panicking and walking around with masks on, and all of that, and so on and so forth. But I don't feel the need to put on mask, because it's very humid out here, and after 30 minutes, that mask is literally useless. So, in order for that mask, what really the N94 filter mask, I think it is, which is the good one, and which is the one that most people are not wearing, because they don't have access to it, and even if they did, they just don't have money, or don't have supply for to buy it, so they could constantly change it. So essentially, it's a waste of time to walk around with masks, because at the end of the day, you're not preventing yourself from anything. So so I don't want to overrun my mouth in this video, which I have the tendency to do. So there you have it. Cheers.